Buongiorno, welcome or welcome back to my channel. This year I have tested so many fragrances and a lot of them are new releases. I actually kept up to date even when it comes to niche fragrances, which I don't do every year. So today I am going to show you the best when it comes to 2024 releases and also the worst. So if you want to know the best and also the worst fragrance that was released this year, then please keep on watching. This was quite difficult for me because, as I said, I've tested so many fragrances. There were a lot of great releases this year, but also some very disappointing ones. So I am going to start on a positive note and tell you my favorite 10 fragrances. Let's start the list with a nice floral tropical fragrance, and it comes from the house of Valentino. This is Valentino Boron Roma Gold. It's such a beautiful floral tropical fragrance, very similar to Alien Goddess from Mugler. The difference is that Alien or Goddess from Alien has jasmine in the notes, while Boron Roma Gold has gardenia. So they are so similar that you actually don't need both of these fragrances. It will depend on the flowers that you love. If you love gardenia, go with this one. If you love jasmine, go with Alien Goddess. I have to say, gardenia with tropical notes just is something special. So the tropical touch comes from coconut, which is not too dense. I struggle with coconut in fragrances because they tend to be a little bit scent and lotion, almost greasy like. I don't know how to explain it. I don't like coconut in fragrances, but here it's just what I like. It just gives this tropical element to the fragrance, makes it a little bit creamy and really complements the gardenia, I have to say. It's a beautiful fragrance. They list only 3 notes: mandarin, gardenia, and coconut. I definitely smell more. I get a little bit of ylang ylang and maybe other white florals. But it is a beautiful, beautiful scent that I would highly recommend if you love this kind of scent profile and you want something a little bit more floral. When I tested this one, I had only a sample of Alien Goddess. Then I got myself this travel size just to test it. And I have to say, I still can't decide between these 2 fragrances. This is why I'm telling you, you don't need both of them. If you love gardenia, you love tropical fragrances, this is a great, great release. Now, moving to a niche house, another tropical fragrance, and this one is a little bit more on the creamy dense side, but it's made in a way that for me just makes it tolerable. And I'm talking about Sunkissed Goddess from Kiehls. Definitely a very, very expensive fragrance, I'm not going to lie, but I smelled it and I fell in love with it. In the beginning, when you first spray it, it can be a little bit borderline this dense to creamy tropical fragrance. There is a lot of ylang ylang here, so you definitely have also to love the note of ylang ylang that gives a little bit of sweetness, creamy, almost banana. It doesn't smell like banana, but it has this banana touch. The ylang ylang generally has. But in the dry down is where this fragrance just is magical, beautiful. It is very luxurious. Focus is also on the tiare flower and coconut. Usually these 2 gives this monoi effect that I don't like, but again, it's made in such a light. It's not a light fragrance, but how it's blended, how it works with other notes just makes it tolerable for me. And I love it, love it, love it. Smells expensive. I'm not going to lie. There are some fragrances that are very, very inexpensive that have the same effect, but they all have this too dense effect that this one doesn't have. So maybe for someone, they are very similar. They don't notice any difference between this one and other tropical inexpensive fragrances. But since I'm so sensitive to these kind of fragrances, I'm telling you there is a difference. Now, is it worth that amount of money? Like Kiehls fragrances are extremely, extremely expensive. This is a 50 ml and it's just outrageous, the price tag on these fragrances. But I got it on a deal. And also I am judging these fragrances not by how many they cost, but how gorgeous the scent is, and this is definitely one of them. So Sunkissed Goddess from Kilian for me gets a huge thumb up and one of my favorite fragrances. If you didn't notice, I am not ranking this video, but I'm going to tell you my favorite designer and niche fragrance from the 10 list. Now, moving on. Another designer release was from Lancome. This is the new flanker from Idol Eau de Toilette. I know no one talked about this fragrance, but to me, this is gorgeous. The mix between this musky rose, like the signature of Idol, with a tea note is just perfection for me. The perfect summer floral fragrance, and it is my favorite Idol. This one and Aura are my favorites from the brand, and actually, I went into this fragrance not thinking much, to be honest, because like we are all tired of these flankers, eau de toilette, eau de parfum, elixir. Like the extrait now is the new crave. Everyone is coming out with an extrait, especially niche fragrances. I'm just tired of that. Just create a new fragrance. But I was very, very surprised with this one. And I was also surprised with, even after testing it, that I kept on returning to it. Now you may say, how come that you love this fragrance and there's not like a big dent in it? Because there is another fragrance that I'm going to talk about that is competing with it. And also because this year I didn't wear like personal fragrances much. Highly recommend this one. Like as you could expect from an eau de toilette, it's not very long lasting or very projecting. Now let's return to a niche fragrance, and this time let's talk about Gritty Monica. I have to be honest, I am not a fan of Gritty. And I did a first impression. By the way, you will find in the description down below a full review on all the fragrances, on almost all the fragrances that I've mentioned, as well as any videos that I reference. So Monica is an extremely feminine fragrance, and I didn't give like the best review on this fragrance when I've tested it in my hyped new releases. But I have to say, when I did my final countdown of all the fragrances of the year and what I've tested and which one is the best, which one is the worst, which one was not worth it, I categorized all the fragrances. What I don't like about Monica, what I don't like about Gritty in general is the synthetic. The syntheticness of this brand just drives me crazy, especially that it is quite expensive. However, this one, although still synthetic, just has something special. It's extremely feminine, and I know that a lot of people will enjoy it, like a lot of people, because it is a very, very mass-pleasing DNA, which is another thing that Gritty is famous for. He is really good at creating mass-pleasing scents. And this one is not an exception. Main note here is peony alongside lychee. And I know this combination is like overdone since the Lena, but this one is unique because number one, it's peony and not rose. So you get this almost watery, rosy scent, and the lychee is different. Like in the Lena and all the other fragrances, they use the same synthetic note that I don't like because they are all made by Givaudan, if I'm not mistaken, and that lychee is a little bit screechy, harsh. If you have smelled the Lena or any of the other fragrances that are similar, rated by the same perfumer, this one I definitely prefer and has great performance, so it checks all the boxes. So although it's not a fragrance that I personally wear, I would definitely recommend for those who love the scent profile. Next, we have a fresh summer fragrance, and this one also really surprised me. This is Aqua Memoris from Givaudan. When I first sprayed this fragrance, oh my god, I fell in love. I said, this one I need to have in my collection. However, the dry down is still citrusy, but it has a huge dose of vetiver, which makes it quite masculine and also has a little bit of a spicy touch because of the black pepper note. And I am not a fan of these two notes in general, but for men, I would highly recommend it. But regardless, it is a beautiful scent that I absolutely would highly recommend for those who love citrusy fragrances, especially the performance on this fragrance is amazing and it remains fresh and uplifting for a long time. I just wished for a little bit less pink pepper and vetiver for me personally, but objectively it is a great fragrance and one of the best releases. Now let's get to another very, very feminine fragrance, and it is Sinen from Fragrance du Bois. I know that in the notes they mention cherry, but I get also a huge dose of strawberry, like a little bit of cherry, but a huge dose of strawberry. The opening is very sweet and fruity, almost milkshake-like. The dry down, however, the oud comes out. But it's not an offensive oud or too much, just a beautiful mix between a fruity, feminine note with a very dark, deep, woody note like oud. And I absolutely love this fragrance and I would highly recommend it as a feminine introduction into oud fragrances, as a special occasion scent if you want to smell different but at the same time girly and a little bit flirtatious, unique. I would highly recommend Sinen. Like this mix between oud and milkshake is unexpected for me and I love it for that. A very, very mass-pleasing scent. A lot of people would love it regardless of the oud. And this is the important part. Moving on to the next fragrance, which I reviewed recently, and this is the new release from Atelier des Ors. This is Kawa Karda. Now, if you love coffee, you love spicy coffee fragrances, like you are into Intoxicated from Kilian, Acro Awake, you will love this one. It has some elements from Awake from Acro, some elements from Intoxicated, and has a little bit of the vibe of Lune Feline from the same brand. If you don't know that fragrance, it's a heavy vanilla fragrance mixed with a heavy dose of cardamom. I like the fragrance, I would recommend it. However, for me, I get this almost burnt rubber that sometimes cardamom can give a fragrance, and I can't get over that note. Here, I don't get this burnt rubber smell, I just get this beautiful coffee, this beautiful cardamom. It has a little bit of almost a fluffy, milky, a little bit of a chocolatey feeling, and I love this one. This is definitely one of the top 3 releases from this year. Again, check the description down below for my full review and also the buying guide of Atelier des Ors. Everything in the description down below. And definitely on the top releases from this year. Another fragrance that took me by surprise was Eau Feminin from M. Micallef. This is an orange blossom fragrance, but I don't know. This one is just special. Very, very special orange blossom because I don't like orange blossom like at all. It's one of the notes that I struggle with. I never liked this note in fragrances because it has a harsh sweetness to it. Like it's just almost too dessert-like, but at the same time there is some harshness. I never liked orange blossom. I know it's quite a popular note and there are a lot of fragrances that are sweet orange blossom, but this one is a special one. Top 2 fragrances for 2024 in my opinion are from the niche word Amouage, Love, Delight. Don't come for me in the comments down below. I know Guidance has now the extrait, or I don't remember. I know there is a new Guidance that came out this year. I could not test this fragrance or get a sample of it, so I'm not going to talk about it. Controversial opinion here. I prefer Love, Delight to Guidance. Guidance just has something that I don't like. Again, I can't speak about the newest version, but the original one, not the biggest fan. It's not for me a wearable fragrance. I know a lot of you would disagree with me, but it's just my opinion. This one is this beautiful heliotrope and vanilla. Again, a mass-pleasing scent. Like you can notice, Amouage recently is releasing again, high quality, so they remain high quality niche like fragrances, but are more mass pleasing, targeted to a bigger audience, if you will. And this one didn't get the love it deserves, in my opinion. So it has heliotrope, it has some vanilla, and again, like all Amouage fragrances, like it's extremely complex, extremely high quality. There is a lot of notes, and to be honest, I didn't expect this one to be my number one, but I am judging these fragrances from an artistic point of view. Let's say I tried for this list to be as objective as possible, like to take aside my personal preferences. So when I did that, this came on my number one. Hi, Noura from another day, here to tell you that my number one has been dethroned, because in the last days of December, it was the last 2 weeks of December, I discovered the best release of 2024, and I'm obsessed. If you have watched my vlog, you will know what I'm talking about. It is Encore une fois from Infiniment Coty Paris. This is just one of the best, if not the best, vanilla I have ever smelled. It is gorgeous. I am wearing it on this hand because I want to compare it to another very hyped and very loved vanilla fragrance, and it is Guerlain Spiritus Double Vanille, which I'm wearing on this hand. They are quite similar fragrances. They are not identical. Like when I first sprayed Encore une fois, I was like immediately reminded of Spiritus Double Vanille, but then testing it more often and comparing it side by side, I discovered that they do share a lot of similarities, but they are not totally identical as I thought in the beginning. However, I don't feel like you need both of these fragrances because I would wear them in the same occasions. They have the same vibe. And if you are not familiar with Spiritus Double Vanille, it's one of the most elegant vanilla fragrances. So don't think about sugary, sweet vanilla fragrances. This is more of this elegant, a little bit smoky, sophisticated vanilla. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love this fragrance. I have been raving about it for such a long time, as you all know, and I would have never guessed that there will be a fragrance that can compete with it until I discovered Encore une fois. So the main difference between these two is Encore une fois is a little bit more balsamic, because if you even see the notes, and I doubt that only 3 notes are in this fragrance. So you have bourbon vanilla, you have Peru balsam, which is what really makes the difference to my nose between the two, and vanilla orchid. You may think, reading these notes, that it's going to be a sweet vanilla. It is not. So both of these fragrances belong to this sophisticated, elegant vanilla fragrances that are not so sweet. And I really can't choose between the two. On the Spiritus Double Vanille side, it's a little bit more smoky, more bright, if you will. When you first, especially in the beginning, you get this brightness that is quite lacking when I compare it to Encore une fois. Mainly, I would say, even looking at the notes of these two fragrances, although, as I said, I doubt that there are only 3 notes on the Encore une fois side, it gives you an idea of another difference. And it is that Spiritus Double Vanille just is more complex, more sophisticated. But if you love this vibe of Spiritus Double Vanille and you want a similar fragrance that is more long-lasting, I would say go for Encore une fois. So Encore une fois gets from me the first place when it comes to best releases of 2024. So I filmed the video just days before discovering this fragrance. I didn't expect to fall in love this much with a new release just in the last days of 2024. So sorry for cheating just a little bit, but I had to tell you about this fragrance. It is absolutely amazing. 10 out of 10. If you love this sophisticated, elegant vanilla, you love Spiritus Double Vanille, you will also love this one. Now let's get to the designer fragrance that took my heart. It was a blind buy and I fell in love with it. This is Gabrielle L. This scent is like absolutely gorgeous, stunning. I can't describe how amazing this scent is. It is lighter than an eau de toilette, I have to mention, but again, this list doesn't include like price tag or if it's long lasting or not. I am talking about the scent itself, how much I like it and how much objectively I rate the fragrances. And this is just gorgeous, like elegance, femininity in a bottle, Chanel in a bottle, if you will. It's just, oh my god, it has the DNA of Gabrielle, but it's much more fresh, much more feminine. You get the signature musk from Chanel, so this very clean, fresh, elegant musk. You have a little bit of orange blossom, and mostly what I get here is tuberose. Now, I wouldn't categorize this fragrance as a tuberose fragrance by any means, but it is the predominant notes that I get. It's very light, there is nothing indolic about it, so don't worry if you don't like that note. I'm also not a big fan, so don't worry. Just a beautiful, feminine, easygoing spring and summer fragrance. Like Lancome Idole Eau de Toilette, I wear this one in the morning, first thing, when I want to feel put together and fresh, and I don't mind performance, to be honest. But I have also to mention that it is very lacking, like extremely lacking in that department. But as a scent profile, 10 out of 10, it can't get better. Love at first sniff for me, and I would repurchase this fragrance, no question. Now, the worst releases. These are the fragrances that I would not recommend in any way, shape or form. Let's start with the first one. And again, they are not ranked, but the last two are, but I will leave the two worst releases in my opinion at the end. Let's talk first about Alien Hypersets. It's not a bad fragrance by any means, but I decided to put it in this list because Alien has been on the market now for extremely long time. They created so many flankers. Some are discontinued, some are still available. And I know Alien is very popular. Now they are coming out with fragrances that don't even have the Alien DNA. Like, for example, Alien Goddess. Like, what are you doing? Just stop creating a flanker of Alien. And Mugler, please come out with a new fragrance. This is just, for me, laziness. So I'm not saying that this is a bad fragrance. If you love the DNA of Alien, you will love this one. But it is so similar, like it really is a 100% unnecessary release. It's a little bit, I would say, a more friendly version of Alien. So please stop with the Alien flankers and give us a new fragrance. Another flanker fragrance that I don't like is Valentino Born Roma Green Stravaganza. What a name, oh my god. Like, this is just... oh my god. I love Born in Roma. Don't get me wrong. And I love this flanker. I would also recommend the intense version. But, like, you have to stop at one point. And this doesn't have even the DNA of Born in Roma. Smells synthetic, smells cheap. Definitely 100% would not recommend it. If you want like a citrusy fragrance or a floral citrusy fragrances, there are a lot on the market. This is not the best. Definitely a big flop. Would not recommend this fragrance. You will find also the review on the worst releases in the description, so check it if you are curious. Moving on to another big flop, and it is from a brand that I actually really enjoy. This is Acro Smile. Like, when it comes to Valentino Born Roma Green Stravaganza, this is for me a bad fragrance. This is not bad, but for a niche brand, for something created by Oliver Crisp, for the scent profile, this is just a big meh. Like, what? A very generic, bland, fruity floral. It doesn't bring a smile to my face, and I didn't see anyone who likes this fragrance or find it even worth it. Like, I mean, Acro is not a very expensive brand. This is so non-descriptive, bland to the max, especially with this kind of scent profile. There are a lot on the market. Like, this is the most used scent profile on the market, and you come out with this one, I don't know. I don't know, just for me a big flop. They did, however, release 2 other fragrances this year that I would recommend, Glow and Infuse. I would not recommend to blind buy it because it has some aspects that are not very mass pleasing. I have a comparison video between Glow and Spiritus Double Vanille because they are similar. Check it in the description down below. Next, we have the new Flanker, or the new addition to the Dolce line from Dolce & Gabbana. This is Blue Jasmine. I mean, as someone who loves jasmine, this was just so criminally bad. I will just have to say it. Jasmine is one of the most popular notes in fragrances, and there are a lot of fragrances, and there are so many on the market. I have no words. It smells cheap. It smells strange in a way. I didn't see anyone buying this one, even speaking good about this one. This is one of the worst from the line. A very controversial pick. But I looked at my list, and this one was for me a big flop. Kayali Vanilla Candy. I don't know what. I hate these long names. So, Vanilla Candy is exactly like the name. You will smell like entering like a candy shop. This is how this fragrance smells. They compared it to one of my favorite fragrances of all time. It is La Belle. No, they are not similar fragrances. I can see some resemblance, like there is pear in both of these fragrances, but these two are totally different ones. La Belle is also sweet, but it's just on another level. It's like in comparison with Vanilla Candy. I mean, what are you comparing? This is more elegant. Like, if I can even say about these fragrances that they are elegant, this is more elegant compared to Vanilla Candy. Vanilla Candy was just a synthetic mess. You will smell like a vanilla shop, and I don't like this scent profile, I have to say. I'm biased, but come on, like, no, just no. Big no. Now, another fragrance that smells or was compared to La Belle, and I again totally disagree with that assessment, is Lattafa Tiak. Now, Lattafa is pumping out fragrances like no one's business. This is like the equivalence of fast fashion like Zara and H&M in fragrances is Lattafa and these brands. And I'm not here for it, to be honest. I gave a chance to a lot of fragrances from this brand and other brands, Middle Eastern brands. Some were definitely a hit, but the majority were a flop. And one of them is Tiak. It has potential. This one, I will have to say that it has a lot of potential, because I've smelled this beautiful sweetness, but there is something so nasty in the background. Smells like leather almost. I don't know. Is it the leather? I have no idea. Like, it ruined totally the fragrance, and I personally would not recommend Tiak. Like, at all. I will find the videos that I did on Middle Eastern fragrances in the description down below, and stay tuned for a third one coming very soon, where I test other fragrances. One of the biggest flops of the year is Kayali Cosmic. Can see it as a fragrance, like a good fragrance for the targeted audience, because I saw that, for example, my nieces that are in their 20s, and they loved this fragrance. I wouldn't say that they were wowed with it, but they liked it. I personally found nothing special about that fragrance. And again, with all the fragrances that are released on the market, like, come on, like, this one doesn't stand out. It's not bad. I wouldn't say that it is a bad fragrance, but just, again, unnecessary, bland, and nothing special. A fragrance that you did not see on my channel yet, because it's part of a video that I didn't upload yet. So, spoiler alert. Parfum de Marly Palatine, I don't know how it's pronounced. No. It's Sweet Violet, and it is bad. just bad. I'm sorry, there is no way I can describe it in other words. The worst fragrance from Parfum de Marly. Very cheap smelling, very synthetic. I'm not a fan of violet, I have to admit. Like, I have also to say that. But I am looking at this fragrance objectively. So regardless that I don't like the notes, I can appreciate a violet fragrance or an iris fragrance. But this one is just not it. It is extremely bad. And with that price tag, are you kidding me? Are you really kidding me? I'm angry, as you can see, because you can't charge this amount of money for this. This is just not it. No. Please don't blind buy this fragrance. The biggest flops of the year. Just ignore it. Ignore this release. Parfum de Marly has other fragrances that are definitely too expensive, but are beautiful scents. This, ignore it. Now it's getting to get even more controversial. The two worst releases. So all of that I've talked about are not ranked, but these two are definitely in the bottom. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but I have to say my honest opinion. Let's start with Givenchy L'Interdit Absolu. What a flop. What a flop. I already decluttered that fragrance. It just didn't do anything for the DNA. I mean, yeah, maybe if you wanted a more masculine, edgy take on the DNA of L'Interdit, but this one, sorry, it doesn't smell good. And it has lavender. And lavender already is a very controversial note in feminine fragrances. Some fragrances, it does really work. For example, Burberry Goddess, that I love. And some people love fragrances that have a lavender note. For example, Libre, that I hate, but a lot of people love. This one, two of my friends who are the biggest fan of L'Interdit line, especially like the original one, it's their favorite. I made them test this one and both of them hated this one. They said, what is that? They just ruined the fragrance. And they love all the flankers. Their favorite one is L'Interdit, the original one, but they loved all the flankers. This one, not. So it's not only me. Now, I am sure that some people would love this fragrance and would love other fragrances that I've mentioned here and said that they are definitely a flop. Fragrances are subjective, guys, but I would say the majority of people would not like this one. Like, I appreciate a new take that is a little bit unique, but I am not sure that a lot of people will enjoy it. The second worst fragrance released in 2024 is Burberry Goddess Intense. How much do I love the original one? This is how much I hate the new one. Like, Burberry Goddess, the original one, was for me love at first sniff. I love that fragrance, love it. Even if everything about that fragrance would scream, this is not for Noor, but I love it. Everything about, I love the lavender note in it, although I'm not a fan of lavender. I love the vanilla, although it's a sweet fragrance, and I'm not a fan of sweet fragrances, but it just works. It's elegant, it's beautiful, it's just a beautiful creation. Simple, yes, but I love it. There's something about it that is just, for me, elegant, put together, and very balanced. Now the intense version. We have issues. They ruined a great fragrance because I was actually very, very excited to have an intense version of the original one because it is very lacking in performance. So I blind bought it. And do I hate, and it's very rare for me to use that word, I hate that fragrance. Hate it. It's harsh. It's screechy. They added patchouli, and I know patchouli already is a polarizing note, I would say. Not everyone loves it. But even the patchouli in it, there is something just extremely irritating, earthy, dirty, synthetic. I just hate that fragrance. I would not recommend it. Now I have to mention that that one in particular is quite polarizing. Some people absolutely love it and other people absolutely hate it like me. So no offense to anyone who loves this fragrance. I am talking about, again, my personal opinion. For me, this is the biggest flop ever because also I take it a little bit personally actually because they ruined one of my favorite fragrances and I was really looking forward for an intense version. Anyway, I would not recommend blind buying it by any means. So these were the worst releases of 2024. Tell me in the comments down below, what is your absolute favorite and also worst release of 2024? Can't wait to see your comments down below and your picks. I hope you liked this video and you found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumb up. That will really help me here on YouTube and to know that you love this kind of content. And if you didn't subscribe already, what are you doing? Please subscribe and also hit the notification bell so you will get notified when I upload any new video. Thanks a lot for watching and see you next time. Ciao.